Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to another True Crime Time with Junebug. That's me, and it's been a while. I didn't expect to write as much down as I did, but today we are talking about a man that sucks. to put it lightly, he sucks. This man. Normally, I focus on when I'm doing covering a case. I try to start with the victims first. But unfortunately, there was a lot more on the murderer than the victims. And also the fact that there was many victims, and that's not good. So I don't even know how I stumbled across this. I think it was like when you Google something and it says like similar to, or people also searched for, like something like that, and this popped up. I'm like, what's that? Oh boy. So today we're talking about the not so great guy, John George Haigh. I'm mostly going to call him John because I'm not quite sure the last name is pronounced, and I don't know if he deserves to have his last name pronounced correctly, in my honest opinion. But he is also known as the Acid Bath Murderer. So if his name didn't ring a bell, maybe that one did. So this takes place, just him being horrible, from 1944 to about 1949. Now, the ages I always like to say, because if it's something with children, it can bother people, but these are all adults. The victims were, not that that's okay, but no children were harmed, I'm pretty sure. And this takes place like multiple places in England. And the status, it's pretty much solved. I would say it's pretty much solved. You'll see the like parts that may not be solved. That is very prominent fuzzy. Sorry. But for some pop culture references, in case anyone's seen or heard of these and they're like, oh, this guy. But there's many pop culture references. The Jar of Acid episode on radio series The Black Museum was about this, but that took place in 1951. Hide My Eyes by Marjorie Allingham, which came out in 1958. John was portrayed by Martin Clunes in a drama called A is for Acid. And his waxwork figure was in the Madame Tussauds like Chamber of Horrors in London. There was a Criminal Minds episode inspired by this. It was called Masterpiece. I know some people really like Criminal Minds. I have not watched it, but wanted to throw that out there. So let's just start talking about John. He sucks, if I haven't made that clear. So he was born July 24th, 1909, to John Roberts and Emily Haigh in the village of Outwood in England. He was an only child, from what I could tell, and they were members of the Plymouth Brethren. I'm not quite sure what all that religion entails, but I know it's Christian. Pretty sure. Now, it was said John suffered from reoccurring religious nightmares in his youth. I read a little bit on that Brethren. It seems like it can get pretty intense, so I can't say I'm surprised if he had some religious nightmares. Besides his nightmares, it was said he was really good at piano, which that's very nice. He loved classical music and attending concerts. So it seems fine, maybe, minus his scary religious nightmares. But in later years, like teenager, young adulthood, he won a scholarship to Queen Elizabeth Grammar School, which sounds quite fancy. He went to Wakefield Cathedral and became a choir boy. So I guess he could sing as well. I knew he played the piano, but I guess he's good at singing. Now, after school, he apprenticed at a firm for motor engineers, which again seems really promising. But a year later into his apprenticeship, he left and started working in insurance and advertising, which again is still promising. You don't have to be an engineer to be successful in life. Some people just switch careers. It happens. Now, at 21, John's 21 at this point, he was fired from a job for stealing from their cash box. So this is the start of the downward slope. I'm sure there was maybe some things when he was younger. Maybe he was a stinker as a kid, but it's just after this moment, I guess, it's just, John just almost gave up. But that didn't stop him getting fired. He went back out there and he got his next job. And that job was forging car documents. So not really like a job, but a job for John. So you could say he was an independent contractor. Now at about 25, we're jumping ahead a bit, he would marry a 23-year-old lady named Beatrice Betty Hammer. And soon after, the marriage would just kind of fall apart. From what I saw, people were kind of surprised they got married. It was like, it said that people were surprised she settled down. But I mean, this is like the 40s, so I mean, did they really have a choice? Also around this time, like shortly-ish after their marriage, like in the first year of marriage or so, John would be put in jail for fraud. But poor Betty, she would give birth to their daughter while John was in jail. After this, Betty actually put up their daughter for adoption, and she divorced him, which the divorce seems smart, yeah. After this time, it said his family, like with the jail, the divorce, the child given up for adoption, like his family kind of cut ties with him, which probably just adds insult to injury from his point of view. But I mean, I could see how they'd be like, John, really? And I do want to say I have no idea what happened with his daughter. If she's still alive, like where, I have no idea what she's up to. Because I tried a little searching, but I didn't dig too deep if something didn't. Like, I have no idea. Maybe she doesn't even know who her father is. Who knows? I also don't know what happened to Betty later in life either, so no idea. Now, when he was released from jail, he would be shortly jailed again for more car fraud because, you know, it's just his passion in life is forging car documents, I guess. So he just had to keep going. But he got caught again and, you know, went back to jail. Now, when he was released the second time, he tried to get his life on track, which, you know, good for him. He had from what I saw, like from one source, I don't know if it's 100% true, he had a fairly decent, like, dry cleaning business until his partner was killed in a motorcycle accident. And partner, I mean, like, business partner, not, like, a gay partner, in case y'all were wondering. So that probably stung a bit. But in 1936, he moved to London, and here he became a chauffeur to William McSwan, who was a wealthy owner of an amusement arcade. Now, John also helped maintain the arcade machines as well as being William's chauffeur. Now, around this time, he's got his actual job, like chauffeur, like helping to take care of the machines. Instead of just being good with that, trying to continue getting his life on track, he decided, you know, I'm gonna pretend to be a solicitor, because that's smart. I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, like a solicitor is almost like a lawyer, sort of. They deal with the legal system across the pond. So very much something you should not be faking. Now, he obviously was somewhat good at pretending to be a solicitor because he ended up having offices, multiple offices in about 5 different towns in London. But he was discovered, like he was found to be doing illegal solicitor things because he had a spelling error on his letterhead, like for his business. He spelled one of the town's names wrong. And due to this, he received a 4-year prison sentence. He, of course, was released just after the start of World War II. And he just, again, he didn't let his prison escapades get him down on his luck. He went back out there and continued as a fraudster. And just from here on out, he would just kind of be in and out of jail and prison a lot around this time because of, you know, fraud and stuff. Because it was his life's work, I guess. Also, towards the end of this period where he's like in and out of jail a lot, John was very annoyed that people kept like turning him in or figuring out it was him. Which, the audacity. Like, how dare these people keep turning me in? Oh, I'm only stealing the money. So because he was so annoyed with people discovering him and like turning him in, he was sick of going to jail and prison, I guess. So he became inspired by, I'm sorry, this is French, so I might butcher it, Georgie's? Alexandre Sarette. I probably pronounced that way wrong, but I tried my darndest. But this fella he was inspired by was a French murderer who disposed of his victims using sulfuric acid. He really knows how to pick idols. What a role model to have, John. Anyway, so buckle up from here on out. It gets worse. So after getting out of prison again in 1943, he became an accountant at an engineering firm. And I believe this was legit. He was a legit accountant at a legit engineering firm. This was real. Again, nice job. He could have just done that and been good, I feel like. But no, not John. Because soon after his job, his new job when he's free, he bumped into his former employer, that William McSwan guy, who owned like the arcades. He bumped into him at a pub and met William's parents as well, because William and his parents, we know, were just pubbing around together. Why not? He also learned, I guess William also didn't seem to like, I don't know if he didn't know John's full criminal history, but like he let him meet his parents, and they were discussing how William collected the rent for his parents from the multiple properties they owned, like, and rented out to people. He was the rent collector. So he told John that. The parents kind of did too. They were all just like hanging out at the pub. And John, he got a bit jealous, you know, that they had money. And let's just say he looked to his role model, the French guy, and he's like, I have an idea. So unfortunately, on September 6th of 1944, William McSwan vanished to Scotland to avoid military service. And John would step in to collect rent for his parents. And they were a bit, like, suspicious because, you know, the war was, like, seeming to come to an end. But they're like, oh, okay. Turns out this didn't happen, as you could have guessed. Dear old John actually lured William into a basement, hit him over the head with a lead pipe, and put his body in a 48-gallon drum of sulfuric acid. He waited 2 days, you know, just waiting for the acid to do its thing, I guess, and then emptied the drum into a manhole. So, yeah, he didn't go to Scotland to avoid military. If anything, I think he would have ran to join the military if he knew what his fate would be. So, the Williams parents, the McSwans, the parent McSwans, they were even more suspicious in the summer of 1945. Now, I do want to note, the war ended, like World War II ended September 2nd of 1945, so it's approaching. Like, there shouldn't really be any more drafting. So they were just extra suspicious, like, why isn't he back? Like, he should be in the clear at this point. So John, being a dear man, the dear man that he is, he set up a surprise visit with their son for them. But in reality, John lured them to the same area he killed William and did the same to both of them. So they died as well, and John would then steal their pension checks, sell like all their properties. I don't know how many they had, but it was multiple. And he got about 8,000 pounds worth of money for this. And he moved into the Onslow Court Hotel in Kensington, my bad. So he just killed that whole family, put them in barrels of acid, and just waited. Because instead of, you know, just working, he decided, you know, let's just kill that whole family and take their money. It's a logical thing in John's mind. So I do also want to know, John was a gambler. Is anyone surprised? But by 1947, so this is about 2 years after he killed the entire McSwan family, he was running out of money. Now, to solve his money problems, instead of, finding a job or anything like that, he chose another couple to kill. He's just going for it now at this point, throwing caution to the wind. Now, he chose Archibald, and I believe her full name was Rosalie, but I saw Rose as well. But Archibald and Rose Henderson. Now, he faked interest in a house they were selling, being like, oh my goodness, wow, what a house, I must have it. And to get on their good side, he would play piano at their housewarming party because they got a new house, obviously, if they're selling the other one. While at the party, he stole a revolver from their house, so not good. So he was just trying to weasel his way in, trying to get to know them, get closer to them, learn more about them. Now, John would actually rent out a small workshop. He would invite Archibald over to see an invention he was working on. And then, unfortunately, he would shoot Archibald in the head with his own revolver he stole. He would end up calling Rose to the workshop, making it sound like Archibald had, passed out or had a seizure or something, like something was wrong and she needed to get there fast. So she did, because she's worried about her husband, and on arrival, John would shoot her too. Yeah, John's not great. So after dissolving and disposing of their bodies in the acid, he forged their signatures to sell all of their possessions for, again, another 8,000 pounds. He didn't sell their car or dog, though, which you would think, the car could bring in some bank if he truly wants the money. But he decided to keep the car and their dog. He killed them and snatched the dog. How rude. So another 2 years go by, and John needs more money again. Seems he can make about 8,000 pounds last about 2 years. Seems to be his track record. And again, he didn't want a job. His new job was killing people for money. It seems because he decided to target a fellow resident where he was living at the Onslow Court Hotel. And her name was Olive Duran Deacon. She was 69 years old and a wealthy widow of an actual solicitor. Not a fake John kind, a real solicitor. So it seems like John's probably foaming at the mouth with her wealth. A fun fact I saw about John, if you can call it fun, was this time when he was living at the hotel, he would just tell people he was an engineer. He wasn't, but he would just tell them that. That was his story. He was an engineer living there, and that's why he had the workshop he rented. Now, this actually piqued Olive's interest, him being an engineer, because she had an idea for artificial fingernails, and she wanted his help with that. I don't quite know what her idea was, but she had an idea. So he's like, oh, I can help you. Come on down to my workshop. Oh, we have so many nails you can work on. So she came down on February 18th of 1949, and as you could have guessed, he shot her in the head with the revolver he stole from Archibald. He stole all of her belongings, including her Persian lamb, big floofy fur coat she was wearing, and then put her in a barrel of acid, because that's just what John does. However, 2 days later, Olive's friend would report her missing, which I think is the first case of this. And dealing with John, someone's like, this ain't right. Where's Olive? She missed bingo. Call the police, or however it went down. But I'm glad her friend called. Now, the police would look into John solely due to his extensive criminal record of theft and fraud. He didn't have murder on his record at the time. I mean, just wait, it will definitely be there. But they just looked into him because he seemed sketch, So they would do a standard search of his workshop, and they find a dry cleaner receipt for Olive's lamb coat. But they also found papers relating to the McSwans and the Hendersons. Because apparently he just wanted to keep their paperwork, just make it real obvious if anyone saw his stuff. John also made a huge mistake, besides, the very obvious ones of, killing people. His previous workshop, the one where he offed the McSwans that had a drain in it. This new workshop did not. So instead of like finding a drain, he would just pour the remains into a rubble pile on the back of the property, because that'll just make them disappear, as we all know. So the police were like suspicious of the big blubbery gross pile in the back of the property, so they had a well-known pathologist, I didn't know his name, maybe y'all do, Keith Simpson. They had him like search through this like sludgy, nasty pile, and he would find 28 pounds of human body fat. And that's not all. He found a part of a foot, gallstones, human gallstones, and dentures that belonged to Olive. So they arrested John. So after questioning, John would just end up confessing to everything. He confessed to killing Olive, both the Hendersons, all three McSwans. He would also confess to killing even more people. He said he killed 3 other people as well. A young man named Max, a girl from Eastbourne, and a woman from Hammersmith. So that's not good. Fortunately or unfortunately, none of these last 3 he confessed to could be proven or like confirmed. So that's the part where it's like, it's pretty much solved, but I mean, I get it's very possible he killed other people, but there was nothing to back that up. So John went to trial, as you could assume. He pleaded like insanity. That seems to be the usual way they go when they're backed into a corner. He's talked about how he drank the blood of his victims, like he had dreams dominated by blood as a child, like he was just obsessed with blood, like he just needed it. But obviously none of this could be proven. You can't go back in time to your childhood dreams and like show it on a screen or anything. Now witnesses were called to like speak on his mental state. There was one that stood out the most to me when I was doing research. Henry Yellowlees went up and talked about John's mental state, and he was actually the future chief medical officer of the UK. So I would definitely say qualified. But he mentioned how John might have a paranoid personality disorder. Said John seemed to, quote, callous, cheerful, bland, and almost friendly, end quote. Like, he was too open, like too carefree about what he did. Like, he never denied anything, which I mean, even if he did deny, it's pretty obvious he did it. So I don't know if he just didn't see the point in denying it. That's why he just went with insanity. But I could see how it might be like, why is he so, he's like, yeah, this is what I did. I could see why they'd be like, he seems too chill about this. So I could see how that would be alarming. But again, I always have the thought, like, if people are doing this to other people, like just putting them in barrels of acid, how sane can they be? But I know they're obviously meaning like completely like mentally not there, like don't know what's happening. But it's just like, are you really okay if that's what you do in your free time? If that's how you choose to make a living? But there is another theory, not really a theory, it's kind of what I thought. One of the reasons he was so like carefree, like blah, blah, don't know what that was, but like woo, is because he like 100% believed a murder conviction could not be possible without a body. So he thought since he dissolved the bodies, there were no bodies, he couldn't be convicted of murder. But dear old John didn't realize, yes, that can make it harder. But it's not impossible, dear old John, to convict you of murder without a body, or a full body, not just dentures. So the jury found him guilty in a matter of minutes, but he was given the death sentence, and he was hung on August 10th of 1949. And that's it. John sucks, and he's gone now, which is good. So that is the horrible story of John Haigh. Had you heard of him before? I had not, and I'm like, wow, I could have gone without knowing about him, but here we are. Sorry it was a longer video. I had like 9-10 pages of stuff I wrote down, and it obviously was not everything about John. So, you know, as Bailey Sarian says, get better idols. Get better role models. Don't look up to a French murderer because he put people in barrels of acid. Just because someone else does it doesn't mean you have to, John. Oh, I believe that French guy also was executed, so don't worry, he's gone too. But that's it. Don't be like John, please. See you next time. I have no idea what I'm covering next. I think I'm jumping back over to America again. I seem to be just going back and forth between other countries and America, but we shall see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Again, don't be like John, please. Bye.